Want some? Get some. Can I get a hell yeah? Yes, I am a pirate. You have to go with the pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything. It's a pirate's life for me. Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're a pirate.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. When you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
You live with Omaha? I can promise you that. And it's purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
All right, welcome into the Pirate Preview. Army versus ECU tomorrow night in Greenville, and we have got a stack-packed show. Kyle from LaGrange Barber, I understand you're going to be at Sup Dogs tomorrow about 9 a.m. covering the event. Is that right?
No, I don't think so, Dave. I would like to try to make it out there if possible, but I don't know that that's going to be possible. But, ESPN Sports Center are going to be at Sup Dogs 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to cover this game, and then they're going to be live from Dowdy at 5 o'clock. So getting a lot of good coverage with this one, the fireworks, the drone show. The administration has done a good job, albeit I do wonder why some of this wasn't announced Saturday at the game. When we had 47,000 people there, but they've done a good job of creating excitement for this game on a short week. I really wish it was on Saturday. I think we'd have maybe 40,000 in there again. But anyway, biggest thing is see if we can get the W.
No doubt. Let's bring in JR from Nova, Northern Virginia. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm still down in Greenville. I stayed here after the game. I figured I'd catch 2 for 1. And
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but the weather forecast was looking gloomy. Now it's looking great, and I'm
30% chance of rain now back in the forecast.
That's better than it was. I'm ready for a Pirate rebound. Let's do it.
No doubt. Let's bring in former ECU punter, one of the best ever, and that's why he's in the ECU Hall of Fame. He's in the Sports Objective Hall of Fame as well. I don't know if he knows that or not. We haven't had the ceremony, but Andrew Bays, man, from the Pirate Sports Radio Network, great to have you back.
Hey, what's up, Dave? Thanks for having me, man. It's been a little while. Hope you guys are doing good.
Yeah. We wanted to have you on tonight because a big game, and I know you do the away games, but we wanted to have you on because, man, we are so excited about this game. I feel much better than I normally would. Hopefully that's not hopefully I'm proven right because I think we can win this game. And guys, Andrew, first of all, I'm feeling like Hauser is going to be respond to this game in a big way. I don't know how you feel, but that's the feeling I got after Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple slip-ups the other night against BYU. I mean, if you believe in these types of things, you maybe would think he was due for something like that. And he's been so consistent. I've been a big fan of his, ever since he kind of took the reins last season. He's such a good kid, good locker room guy. He's got a lot of confidence. He plays the game the right way. His teammates love him, which is a testament to his style of play. And it's unfortunate the things that unraveled against BYU this past weekend, as we watched it unfold. But yeah, he's a confident kid, man. That's one trademark of John David Baker's quarterbacks. If not for anything, they're decisive. And I think even as the game wore on against BYU after those couple slip-ups that he had, he still rebounded nicely and kind of found his groove again later in the game, albeit a little too late. BYU was running away with it. But, confident kid. I look for a rebound for him. He's been hovering right about 70% completion percentage for the season, not turning the ball over, his wide receivers not dropping passes. And we saw all of that against BYU. We saw drop passes, pretty much all over the field. Anthony Smith, who I've been the biggest fan of Anthony Smith, since last season. It seems like from the booth when we watch, there's not a single soul that can cover the guy. And, I think the pressure of that type of atmosphere and that type of energy got to the Pirates against BYU. And, I expect a much settled down environment, not like a super rambunctious crowd the way it was Saturday night, but I think that the Pirates will settle into this one against Army.
Yeah, we're going to have to. You talk about Hauser's play on the season. Obviously, you go back to the NC State game. He played lights out, played well against Campbell. I actually thought that the offense as a whole struggled against Coastal despite the score. I know we got it going in the fourth quarter and kind of ran it up. But then against BYU, offense yardage-wise was fine, but the two picks he threw in, very key situations. One, in a position to score, and then one, a pick six in our own end zone. Very unlike the way he's played so far this year. And another thing that, offensively, I look at, for the BYU game and on the season, our red zone production has not been very good. I think, you look at the yardage we put up and inconsistency with the running game, although I do think the running game has started to improve a little bit. That's, the red zone consistency, Andrew, how much of that do you put on the struggles of the running game?
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up because, they got a talented weapon that you've seen a little bit this season in Wright, who, I'm curious to see how he's utilized as the season progresses. It's not a name that comes up often, although, we see splashes of him. Certainly we saw it in the Coastal game, with his touchdown run. But the red zone aspect, that's just an aspect of not being able to run the ball. They've really struggled throughout the season. I mean, even deep into that Coastal game, if anyone was listening to our radio broadcast, it seemed like you saw it with your own eyes. Every rush was 2 to 3 yards, before they finally broke it. And that, ironically, that was, going into this BYU game, that was their season average, 3 yards a carry. They were able to bump that up a little bit after this week against BYU, but the red zone stuff, as far as struggles offensively, that's anchored around being able to move bodies in a small space and being able to run the football. And that's one aspect that they just have not been able to get going. Now, BYU, you saw signs of it. I felt like London Montgomery, especially with that big kickoff return to start the game, he played with way more explosiveness than I've seen him play. And that comes with confidence, I know. So, he certainly was feeling it against BYU. I think he's going to get his opportunities against Army. Obviously Marlon Gunn had a much better effort against BYU as well. But that offensive line, I think as they continue to mold, there's a lot of parts and pieces that they were interchanging in the summer, no preseason games for these college teams. So they've got to figure it out on the fly. And, I think the rushing attack will get better each week. And to answer your question, that will probably free up, some of that red zone office. Now on the flip side, one stat I've followed pretty closely over the last 2 seasons is the Pirate defense has been outstanding, in small spaces, with their backs up against, I think right now they're 21st in the country in red zone defense. And that's usually, they've pretty much hovered between 10 to 20 in the country over the last 2 seasons. So, they get better on the flip side defensively. They get better in tighter spaces.
Yeah, no, good point. And we're going to need that against Army the whole game, not just in the red zone, the way they play football. Just a couple, another point I wanted to make about the offense, Andrew, and ask you about I didn't think we did a good job against BYU of getting the ball in our playmakers' hands. You mentioned London Montgomery. He had his best game. I'd like to see him get even more carries. I think just running back by committee things got to go. I think you have London as your primary back, and then the other two as his backups. Play them all three, but have London have the bulk of the carries. I don't know if you agree with that, but I just believe you got to get a kid lathered up. Another thing is, you look at somebody like Xavier Smith. He's not getting enough touches. He was open several times, I thought, the other night against BYU, and we didn't get the ball to him. And Brock Spalding. Brock's been producing for us all year, and I think he had one catch, maybe two against BYU.
Yeah, Brock disappeared certainly in the BYU game. He's been a certain treat for that offense as he came on early, especially against NC State. That's really where the door opened up for him. Yannick Smith showed up big for BYU. That BYU game, the one that was a disappointment was certainly Anthony Smith. I think he only had a couple catches for the night, but certainly I think he had a couple big drops that I can remember. I don't know that he had any more than two, but I know he had two big ones.
Yeah, he had three.
And I go back to some of the things that transpired last week. I mean, these wide receivers haven't been dropping balls in the last 2 years. That's one thing that we have not seen is a lot of drop balls. I think that's a testament to Caton Hauser, and he's super good on the intermediate stuff. I know later last year they were able to hit on some big ones, but we've been missing the explosives for whatever reason. And I think
yes, I've talked about that quite a bit.
I think maybe that's something to do with the offensive line being a bit unsettled here early in the season. Caton Hauser maybe throwing deep balls a little bit earlier than he wants to, which maybe is forcing some underthrows. But those things will click as the season wears on. But as far as the rushing attack, I think they want London Montgomery to be the guy. There's no question about that. He's got the explosiveness. He's got the playmaking ability. He's just got to be more productive with the opportunities. And collectively as a bunch, I think Coach Baker's probably just been trying to find a spark on that offense, as far as the rushing attack, and those three heads that you've seen quite a lot, Montgomery, Gunn, and Jenkins. I think a big piece of the rushing attack is Caton Hauser. I think as they try to get this thing going, I think you saw him a bit more productive in the BYU game running the ball. It'll probably be something similar in Army, as long as they're trying to find ways to move the line of scrimmage positively in the rushing game. John David Baker has shown consistent in his commitment to the run, and he's been pretty clear that this offense goes through a rushing attack first, establishing the run first, even though we all as fans think that they could probably line up with this receiving core and these two tight ends and throw 50 times a game and do just fine. I think this offense is built around the rushing attack. And I think Caton Hauser sometimes has to be a big part of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, we talked about Mike Wright and his lack of involvement. And, he's somebody that, whether it's from the quarterback position, running back position, or receiver position, another guy that we've got to get more involved with the offense. But JR, you go ahead. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, but I will. I'll throw something out there since we're talking about the offense. Okay, so we've had 12 explosive plays this year, and I would say a play of 20-plus yards. 7 of them were in the first 3 games, and actually we had 5 against BYU. Yannick had 3, and London had 2, including our first explosive run play on his 33-yarder in the first quarter. And Caton Hauser is the only quarterback in the nation that has thrown for at least 285 yards in each of his first 4 games. So, I mean, we do have some upside. It seems like we're trending in the right, situation. But those 2 throws that he made, if we could just take them back, I think that BYU game obviously would be a lot different.
Oh, yeah, without question. I mean, the defense was playing great. There was momentum, home momentum. The crowd was outstanding. It was electric. And if the Pirates don't make those 2 critical mistakes, there in the first half, and dodge one on the muff punt before the interception.
Yep.
You know, if they dodge all those things and go into halftime, you know, with whatever it was, you know, I forget what that minimal lead that BYU had before
Third. Go ahead.
before that pick six, it's a different game coming out of halftime. You know, the way the defense was playing, it was only going to be a matter of time before the offense would start clicking. And so I agree with you. It's unfortunate the way things went down, because it could have been a completely different ball game.
Hey, one more thing for Andrew before he goes, or you know, I guess you're coming back. But in any event, since we're talking about the defense, I really thought that, I mean, it was huge after 11 plays when Tegan Wilk was ejected, and you know, we lost you know, his backup before the season even started. And so, you know, McKinley had to play 47 snaps. And I mean, he had never even been on the field in a meaningful situation the entire season. So, I mean, the fact that the defense was as good as it was, you know, without their signal caller, I thought is an extra, you know, impressive situation.
Yeah, I mean, without, you know, I had questions and concerns, probably as did most, with this defense going into this season. The amount of seniors that they lost and were a big part of the ECU defense last year. But Coach Aldridge has done an incredible job. I mean, they have been committed. You know, they never really had a starting 11, and you know, what they've had a rotating, you know, 24 to 30 players that, you know, they felt good about, that they were going to get experience and that they were going to rotate through to figure out who was going to rise to the top. You know, they knew who their anchors in the defense were going to be, but there are a lot of other moving parts. And because of that, a lot of guys have been getting playing time. And, you know, when a guy goes down like Tegan Wilk on that one, which was completely unfortunate, to lose that caliber of a player that early in the game. You know, you see the next man up mentality, and Coach Aldridge has done a great job rotating players while he's, you know, figuring out what he's got on defense, and a lot of positive sides on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
Speaking of the defensive side of the ball, Andrew, as we start to wrap it up with you, Sal's been waiting backstage patiently. We got a late start tonight. Defense against triple options, as always, you know, people always talk about how hard it is to prepare for it. Obviously, it's been talked ad nauseum about it being a short week, less time to prepare. You know, Blake kind of seems like he took the approach of, you know, he said they didn't even work on it as much during the spring this year as they normally do, that they are, you know, just I don't know how much time we've had to work on the triple options. Kind of my point. In the past, you know, we've struggled with Navy so much. Hadn't played Army a lot lately, where we have seemingly worked on it ad nauseum and it didn't make a difference. Do you think maybe this approach where we don't overthink it? You know, the way we play defense, the way we pursue to the ball, and the scheme we're kind of running, I think we may naturally be good against the triple option. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there might be a little gamesmanship in some of Blake's words. You know what I mean? Like, him and Coach Aldridge come from background with this defense, and I guarantee you these guys have had reps, you know, building up to this throughout camp and in the preceding weeks leading up to this. Coaches are pretty smart in being able to get, you know, periods and different times in practice to mix in some things. And, you know, I'm sure they've prepared well for this, and, you know, coaching wise, they have a good feel for it. Army's, you know, they're gonna rush for their 300 yards a game, and they're gonna do their thing. This Army team's a little bit different, you know, similar to Coastal when we played them. Coastal was struggling with turnovers. Army at this point is struggling with turnovers. You know, the key to that is if and when Army turns the ball over, you know, you've got to make them pay with points. And, you know, because if you go 3 and out and give them the ball back the way they can, you know, they're going to eat up clock, and you're going to get behind the 8 ball, and you're going to run into problems with them holding the ball as long as they do 13, 14 play drives. So, you know, if and when they do turn the ball over, you got to make them pay, and you've got to put points on the board.
Andrew, good talking to you. Back when you played here, Steve Logan obviously used to always talk about starting fast. That was his big thing. You got to start fast against triple option teams, make them play from behind. It would be nice to see our offense, which is something that this kind of we pride ourselves on, and we hadn't done it a lot this year. Start fast on offense. It'd be nice to see us do it this week.
Oh goodness, it would be awesome to see a opening game drive, nice 10-play drive. That would make us all feel pretty good. But Army's tough. Bryson Daly, however, is not on the other side of the field this time, and that's gonna help out this year because he was a beast last year, no doubt.
Yes, sir. All right. Do you want to come back after we talk to Sal, Andrew?
Well, you just send me a text, David. I'd love to come back if you guys have time.
Okay. All right. We'll do. All right, brother. We'll be back with you in a little bit. All right. Bye.
See you.
All right. He's been waiting patiently backstage. Let's bring in Sal Donato. How are you doing, Sal? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming back on with us. We've got you on. I believe you're on mute.
Yeah. How are you guys?
There we go.
How's it going?
Sal, sorry about that. We got a late start tonight. Otherwise, we would not have kept you waiting. How's things going in West Point?
Not so good, right? They're 1-2 to start the season. Both of their home games, they lost in overtime. Both of those games, they could have won, maybe should have won, didn't win. And now they have to go on the road on short rest and a short week and, play a team that, they were familiar, they played last year. And, it's not going to be easy for them. They want to get to 2-2. A 1-3 start would be kind of, a step back, certainly. So it should be an interesting game tomorrow.
Yeah, both teams are in need of a win. You guys don't want to start off 1-3. We don't want to start off 2-3. You guys would be 0-2 in conference, coming off winning the conference championship last year. It's way too early in the season to be talking about any kind of sense of desperation. But how do you think the mentality is right now? I mean, obviously, the Army Cadets are going to be mentally tough no matter what. But do you sense any panic or desperation at this point with the 1-2 start? Or Monken seems like a calm, cool, collected guy that just stay the course.
Yeah, they're not desperate, but they know what they have to do. They know that they kind of dug themselves a little bit of a hole with this 1-2 start, and it doesn't get easy on the road. Good point. They don't want to go into the conference after winning the conference last year, defending champs. There's a lot of pride on this team. They may not be, they might not be as talented as last year's team, but I tell you, they play as hard as last year's team. This team doesn't quit. This team didn't quit against Tarleton State. They didn't quit when they were 21 points down twice against a really good North Texas team. So I think they're going to be coming ready to play on Thursday night, and they know what they have to do. It's pretty simple with them. Control the ball, don't turn the ball over, keep the offense on the field, keep their defense kind of on the sideline so they don't have to play 78 snaps like they did last week, and they feel like they can probably be in this game.
How you mentioned the comeback against North Texas? How is Dwayne Coleman looking? Is he good to go for this game?
I don't have any insight on his health or anything. I don't go up. I'm not at the practices during the week, but he did go to the press conference after the game on Saturday. So if he was, really hurt, he probably would have got treatment instead of going to the press conference. He looked fine. I think he just cramped up. I mean, he was battling an ankle injury from the Tarleton State game. That's why he didn't play against Kansas State. He had the bye week to get a little bit healthier. He looked pretty good. When he was in there, he looked pretty good. He ran for over 100. He threw for over 100. He had Army moving. I think my take is if he doesn't go to the sidelines in overtime, they'll find a way to win that game against North Texas.
Who do you think?
Huh?
I was going to ask you, who do you think will start tomorrow night?
If Coleman's healthy, he should start. I mean, the way he played in the second half, the way they moved the football, he took care of the football. Most importantly, he took care of the football. He didn't turn the ball over like he did in the first game against Tarleton State. He didn't force a lot of stuff like he did in the first game against Tarleton State. I kind of go back and forth because I think if say you start Cale Helms, I think Dwayne Coleman is the better guy to bring off the bench. So say quarterback A struggles, quarterback B got to come into the game. Dwayne Coleman, I think, is more equipped to come off the bench than Helms is and get Army some points. But, I think Coleman deserves to start.
Yeah, no doubt. Great performance Saturday against the Mean Green in the second half, bringing them back, and then the overtime. You look at the end of that game against North Texas, and Army was down by 10, I believe it was. It would about 3-4 minutes to go.
Yep.
And I was watching that game, and it was a 3rd and 8 or something like that. It was, I don't remember the distance, but it was 3rd down, and Army hits the bomb over the top. Somehow the receiver from Army gets behind the North Texas safety. I don't know what North Texas called there, but when you're up by 10 against against Army, you guys traditionally are running a football team. I don't know why you're not just backing everybody up so nobody gets behind you. If you drive the field and get 7 and you have to go for an onside kick with 1:30 left, who cares? I do not know how that happened in that situation. It boggled my mind watching that game.
Good play call, to be honest with you. Good play call.
But a piss poor play call on defense.
Yeah, it was a 4th down, to be honest with you, in the play that they practiced before. And Brady Anderson's turning into a go-to receiver for Army. He's able to make a nice adjustment on the catch and able to run away from the secondary for a touchdown. I mean, yeah, I guess you want to play prevent defense there. They didn't. And then what's even worse is in North Texas, they fumble the ball on their next snap. And Army's able to force a fumble and give Army even more life. So Army just kind of hung in there, and just couldn't get that score in the end of regulation, the touchdown that they needed. I was right there in the back of the end zone. I mean, it was inches away from Brady Anderson catching that tip pass. If that happens, game's over. They win. It didn't. They kick the field goal. They go into overtime, and kind of the rest is history. So.
No doubt. What about? I was there. By the way, Sal was there at the Army game last year. Just got to tip my hat. West Point is beautiful. Had a chance to walk around the campus a little bit, and I tell you what, I had a dream come true. It's always been on my bucket list, but I had to ride a train, like literally with my arms against my ribs because it was so packed, going all the way up to around Poughkeepsie, and then I had somewhere around there, and then I had to take a Uber about 20 minutes to West Point. I was trying to think the name of the town, maybe Poughkeepsie, but anyway. The town's absolutely gorgeous. The fans were fantastic, very friendly people. Everything was just great. It's, obviously, the score didn't go our way, but I just wanted to say how much I love West Point and glad to have Army back in the conference where we're playing on a regular basis every year. I think it's good for both schools.
Yeah, it's one of the best. They're doing some renovations on the stadium. They'll have the east side of the stands done next year. Guys come back up there. It'll probably be a little bit more modern looking, but kind of the same, game day feel. It's one of the best places to watch a football game. Iconic is the word I would come up with.
Yeah, no doubt. Mikey Stadium's iconic and a great setting. Look at the Army defense. North Texas had a lot of success against them throwing the ball. What do you make of the of Army on defense this year? They're giving up some yards.
Yeah, everybody does, right? They're giving up some yards. I thought they played better in the second half. They gave up only 10 points to North Texas in the second half. They lost 2 of their starting defensive backs, 1 to an ejection for targeting, 1 Colin Madison, their starting safety, to injury in the first half. So all in all, I mean, here's the thing. The defense played they didn't play great. They didn't play bad. They played okay. But when you turn the ball over 3 times and you give North Texas, pretty good field position, and they scored 21 points off those turnovers, I don't completely blame that on the defense. I don't completely blame it on the defense. They got the turnover when they needed to. It's a defense that should be playing a little bit better, but look at what they did against Kansas State. They played pretty well against Kansas State because they weren't on the field a lot. That's the key for this defense. 78 plays North Texas, 42, I believe, or 44 versus Kansas State. Caleb Fortner and Andrew Thomas need to make plays. And if their nose tackle play is not better than it was against North Texas, it's going to be a long day. I think that East Carolina might see what North Texas did. North Texas ran the football pretty successfully against Army. sometimes they walked into the end zone for touchdowns. And so I think that if East Carolina, I know they want to throw the ball too, but if they can get the ground game established, they could have some success against Army, and it could be a long day against Army. They got tackled better. Tackling was terrible in the first half against North Texas, and if they don't tackle better too, it could get ugly. So
Was the targeting ejection in the first half or the second half?
first half.
Okay, so be back for this game. First half.
Yep. Justin,
JR, you got something?
Yeah, well, I had a question about the quarterbacks. Okay, so Coleman has thrown the ball 20 yards or further in the air 5 times, completed 4 of them for 2 touchdowns and 147 yards. I mean, that's 29 yards, 29.4 yards per attempt. Now, on the other side, Hallams has never even tried to throw a ball further than 20 yards. If something were to happen and Coleman cramps up, Hallams comes into the game, he's got to rally them from a deficit. Can he throw it deep?
He doesn't need to throw it deep because against Kansas State, if you watch the end of the first half, when they had like a 2-minute or so drive, they drove down the field at Kansas State and they were able to move the football pretty successfully. I'm not sure if that's the drive where Noah Short threw the 52-yard pass to a slot back, but they were able to get the running game going enough where he didn't have to throw 40, 50 yards down the field. If he completed a 10-yard pass, that was fine. He completed a 4th down pass in the end zone to Brady Anderson on a gutsy call by Army. They could have kicked the field goal. They didn't. They went for the touchdown. They got it. So can Helms throw the ball 40, 50 yards down the field? Probably, maybe not, but does he have to? The game plans are different with these quarterbacks, Helms does a certain amount of things similar to what Bryson Daly did. Coleman does a little bit different. He's more of an outside running threat, so to speak, and he can throw the ball with a little bit more consistency down the field.
Okay, I wanted to point out 2 things that I find pretty impressive that Army's done so far this season. First of all, they haven't allowed 1 yard in punt returns. Now I know there wasn't even a punt last week by either team, but before that, I think you had like 7 punts. I mean, you have not allowed 1 return yard. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And then the other thing is, unfortunately, East Carolina is one of the worst teams in the nation at committing penalties.
129.
We committed 37 penalties for like an average of 70.5 per game. Now, Army's committed 8 penalties for an average of 20 per game. So, I mean, that trend, we're like giving you 53 yards. So I'm hoping that trend doesn't continue.
Yeah, Army's a disciplined team. They got to play discipline to win. For them to win games, they have to be almost play perfectly as far as the execution. They can't have any turnovers, can't have any fumbles, can't miss tackles. They have to play. This team has to play pretty near perfect to beat teams. It's not like last year's team where they were up. Army was up 31-0 against East Carolina at one point last year. They blew away teams at times in the American Conference with Bryson Daly. This is not that type of team. So I mean, they're gonna. We'll see how the penalties go. As far as punt returns, I mean, their coverage is pretty good. I mean, they did give up I think they gave up a return against Tarleton State. So I mean, it goes both ways. Their special teams is usually solid, and you usually can get. They've gotten some big plays from them in the past, especially on block kicks and stuff.
Gotcha. Jared, did you have that stat right? If they gave a punt return for a touchdown?
No, they didn't. They gave a kickoff return for a touchdown against Kansas State, 99 yards.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but they have not. Nobody's returned a punt on them. 1 return for 0 yards.
Interesting. Are they punting in the end zone primarily?
They don't have that many touchbacks. That's the thing. I guess their punt coverage team is just really effective.
Wagon Seller, their punters, has had an okay start. I think he's kicked a couple out of bounds. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't really punting is when you have 0 punts in the previous game. It's not something that we analyze too much. So.
Yeah, gotcha. What listening to Coach Monken's press conference on Monday, it seemed like his biggest overall concern, without getting into the X's and O aspects of things, was with the team being fatigued and tired after playing so many games, playing so many plays on both sides of the ball Saturday. Obviously, short week, travel, which gives them one less day than we have. How do you? I mean, obviously, Army. The guys are always well conditioned, but how do you feel that's going to affect things? I think it's probably overhyped, in my opinion, particularly when you're looking at an academy. Those guys are always used to working hard. Do you think it'll play much into this game?
It depends. I mean, they're a tough team, right? I mean, Hayden Reed's playing through injuries, and he's breaking off 37-yard touchdown run on a bad ankle. So I mean, they're tough guys. But there were some guys that got banged up, and is a short week. Are they going to be ready to go on Thursday? We'll see. Maybe some important guys. I know Noah Short was a little banged up during the game. He played through injury. I expect him to probably play through and be there on Thursday night, lining up at slot back. But they're a little banged up on the nose tackle. Cody Harris Miller's been out for the last 2 games. Don't think he's going to come back. Colin Madison, if they don't have Colin Madison in this game, one of their better safeties, who had a great game against Kansas State, that's a factor. We'll see. I mean, I think there is some concern. The 3 games that they've been in have all been pretty physical games. They haven't been last year. Like I said, they blew out teams. They were able to give their starters a break in the third quarter, get their second and third stringers some needed playing time. This is not the year to do that this year. Their starters are playing full games. They're playing, like you said, 78 plays, 82 plays on offense, and it takes its toll. We'll see. I mean, I think they're going to come out ready. I think it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be a lot of heavy hitting in this game, and we'll see if let the best team win. Pretty much, I think that's the type of game it's going to be.
So I got a question for you. And I don't know if you even follow this. You might not be able to answer because I don't guess you travel with the team. But we're doing Military Appreciation Day when we play Army, which always blows my mind when we do Military Appreciation Day when we play Army or Navy. And I know logically it makes sense, but in my opinion, save that for a game where we're not playing an academy. I always have Military Appreciation Day, but save it for when we're not playing an academy. So, we can bring in people from Fort Bragg and Camp Lejeune. Well, Camp Lejeune may cheer for East Carolina anyway, as Marines. But we got surrounded bases. The point is, do you see this a lot, or is it, since you don't travel with the team? I'm just curious how many other schools do Military Appreciation Day when they're playing Army.
It's all the time. It's all the time.
All right, good.
Yeah,
All right, so I can
you're
quit fussing
not
at
the
our
only one.
administration about it. It's something everybody does. All right.
Yeah, but I know one of our co-hosts, Steve Anderson, former Army player, is coming up to the game, and I think he's bringing some. He's still serving, so I know he's bringing his family, and I'm sure that he's bringing a group of players, maybe even guys who are currently serving up to watch the game. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pride. I mean, I don't really. Army doesn't look at the schedule and say, "Hey, another Military Appreciation Day coming up on the road," But it doesn't really affect the team. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, to me, I don't know, it hurts our environment to me because you're like, you're all patriotic and you don't want to be disrespectful to the academy anyway. You might boo other teams. You're not going to boo Army or Navy, but I don't know. To me, it just always seems to take away from a little bit of the home field advantage you would normally have when you do that, when you're playing an academy. But I'm glad to hear that we're not the only team that does that.
Yeah, I think that the brand of football Army plays is it's pure. It's pure football, back in the day. And I think that's a lot of people will appreciate the effort that they put out. A lot of your fans will appreciate the effort. They've gotten standing ovations in Oklahoma when they played them down to the overtime.
Look.
So, I mean, there's a lot of,
I hope they play with zero effort and we appreciate them for losing. Look, let me tell you something. One thing you don't have to worry about with East Carolina is disrespecting or needing to see the effort from the academies. We know, God knows, look at our record against the Navy. We haven't played Army a lot in recent years. We're 9-1 all time against Army, I believe, off the top of my head, from back when Army was so bad in the 90s and early 2000s. But we know what Army is here recently, and God knows we still have never beaten Navy in Greenville and only beaten them in Annapolis twice. So the academies are kind of a thorn in our side as of late, primarily because of Navy. But the one meeting against Army has not gone our way in recent history.
Yeah, I think it's 8-1, East Carolina. I thought I saw that stat, and I don't know. I did, like we said, lots on the line for both of these teams. They both need the game, so I'm expecting both teams to get after it. I hope the Army secondary can hold up. Last week they played like a little bit of a soft zone that North Texas kind of ate up a little bit. They only had like 2 plays over 20 yards in the passing game, but the quick hits kind of hurt Army. So hoping that the defense can hold up the pass defense and hope we get a good game.
Yeah, well, do you quickly, Sal, before we let you go, do you have a predicted score?
I think like a 27, probably 27-24 game. I think it could go either way. I was thinking East Carolina might win this one, but I mean Army needs it so bad, and I look at the way they bounced back and beat Kansas State. With all due respect, so I'll go Army 27-24 just to be on the Army side, but I think it'll be a close game. So.
Yeah, I think it'll be close also.
Yeah.
Sal, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate
Where can everybody read your work and follow you?
Just BlackKnightNation.com. More Seth Mendelson's work, our writer. You can follow us on BK Knight Nation on Twitter and Black_Knight_Nation on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel too. You can check out some press conferences and what Army offensive coordinator Cody Worley has to say before this matchup on our YouTube channel too. So really appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Sal, for joining us.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye. All right, we'll see if we can. By the way, guys, had some interesting stats for you guys. I think I sent that in the text, group text. But how about this? These like prop bets and different things. But Hauser, Johnny, 250 yards or better is expected for Hauser on tomorrow night.
Well, he's done it pretty much every game this year. So
yeah.
I feel like a homer a lot of times because I'm consistently.
We'll accept you anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. But that seems ridiculously low to me. I mean, Army's pass defense has not proven that they're going to contain him. I don't know. I'll take the over, Dave.
All right, so over for that. All right, let's see here. Hold on one second. Coming back. ECU run defense is top 20 in the nation versus Army's ground attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's always different when you play a triple option team. You can sort of throw those stats out the window, although I like the way we pursue to the ball. So I'm going to be interested to see if we actually can defend the triple option run game this year. To be damn sure one of these years we're going to be able to. Maybe to be this year. What do you think, JR?
I think it is this year, only because they don't have the quarterback that's the gasher.
Yeah.
I think we can keep them from just bleeding us to death with 3 here, 4 there.
Right.
I think if we get one tackle for loss, which is hard to get against Army, but in any event, just a couple of plays where we don't let them get 3 or 4 yards, it's going to be hard for them to convert, in my opinion.
I hope you're right.
I really do too. We invited Andrew. We'll assume he'll be back on in just a second. But while we have you guys and waiting for Andrew, let's get back to that. And here's another one. Easy to turnovers and red zone execution could swing the game. That's obvious. There's some different.
Yeah, turnovers for them. I mean, we turned the ball over against BYU, but Army's been turning it over pretty consistently this year. We've been pretty good at making turnovers. Our red zone offense is not very good. I think that could change in a hurry. I don't think that's something that is one of those things that will continue all year. But key, it's goes without saying, but don't turn the ball over and see if we can force them to turn the ball over. And when we get a red zone opportunities, take advantage of them. We cannot keep, and even if it's just getting 3, we need no turnovers in the red zone. If we're going for it on 4th, we need to convert. Our red zone offense has not been good. We talked about it with Andrew earlier, but you just brought it up. That is something we definitely need to convert on red zone opportunities. And Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, there's some they obviously have some people around the nation picking ECU, SCCG ECU 31-24. Picks and parlays has the Pirates 31-20. Underdog Dynasty though has Army 28-24. So I wanted the panel. I want to get y'all's take
Yeah,
on
I saw another place somewhere else that had Army 27-26.
Yeah, the over under is like 52.5. Do you guys have the over or under? Do you think under?
I'm going over.
Oh wow, Johnny's going over.
I am going over.
You said the over under is what?
The over under is 52.5.
Yeah.
God, you can't say push on a half point.
I know. I'm like right there under. I'm just barely under, man. That's what's hard for me.
Boy, that was hard. I don't know. Come back to me, Andrew. What do you like, the over or the under?
Give me the over. The Army's been giving up some points.
Yeah.
The Pirates have shown the ability to be able to put some points on the board. So give me the over.
Yeah, I think.
Kyle, you were talking about red zone offense. I did look it up. The Pirates are 121st in red zone offense.
Yeah, I know. It's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
Andrew, I was just going to say, Andrew, we're the only team in the nation that has come up empty in the red zone more than 5 times, and we've done it 7 times. And then, like, by comparison, North Texas is 26 for 27. I mean, that's what you strive for right there. I know that's very, very on the high end of the spectrum, but still, we can do better.
Yeah, and that may be why I'm going to take the under.
It seems like you would think the opposite. When you look at our roster and you look at our skill positions, we've got two threats at tight end, and 2 really good sized wide receivers. So really, you have 4 red zone, true weapons, between Anthony Smith, Yannick Smith, and the 2 tight ends. Where you think you'd have an advantage on some if you were able to get some man coverage on the outside to be able to at least take a shot. But we haven't shown many fade routes in the end zone so far this year. We still like to hit our screens and try to stretch them out with stretch plays down there around the red zone. So this offense, as the season goes, this offense I think will evolve a little bit. But yeah, for sure, 121st in red zone. That's not great.
And I don't know if this ties in to the red zone stat. It kind of does, but maybe not directly. Is that we're horrible on 4th down conversions. We're the only. Well, Clemson and East Carolina are the only 2 teams.
Oh, the Mike Houston effect.
Exactly. That have gone for it more than 10 times on 4th down and not converted more than 3. So
Wow.
we're 3 for 11.
Oh,
Clemson's
wow.
3 for
That
11.
is friggin' horrible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the inability to run the ball.
Exactly, Kyle. Exactly.
You feel like we'll be able to run it against Army. If we can't run it against Army, then and that's nothing against Army. Army's a good team. Army may come in here and easily whip our ass. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But if we're going to get this running game going, it needs to be this week. And I don't mean late in the game like against Coastal. I mean get it going in the first half.
Yeah, they've got to continue to chip away at it. I think collectively that rushing room rush for whatever 3.5 yards to carry again against BYU. So we saw signs of life. I actually thought they ran the ball a lot better. I had some concerns against a pretty good front 7 for BYU as far as size-wise and experience. And I thought that they were getting some running lanes and they were able to get some bounce some plays and have some opportunities. So yeah, they will continue to evolve as the season goes on. I think they'll have a few more opportunities against Army.
Andrew, random question, nothing to do with the Army game. And just want to go back a couple of games to the Coastal game. You were there calling that one. I was in Conway also. Were you as surprised as I was when you saw the Coastal South Alabama score this Saturday night?
Tell me what the score was.
38-26, I believe was the final. Coastal won.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, when I watched the film on Coastal, I didn't think they were I didn't want to believe that they were as bad as kind of what we saw.
No, and I didn't think they were. But I told a Coastal fan that, so you guys are trying to run a Mike Leach style offense. I said sometimes it takes time with the quarterback for it to get going. I said, I think you guys have the pieces to get it going. I did not expect them to get it going and they were down at halftime. Like, I don't remember what it was. They were down by a couple. That was the second half. That offense started clicking in the second half. It'll be interesting to see if it keeps rolling for them. But
they were down to their third quarterback against.
yeah, I don't even know who played quarterback for them in the second half versus South Al, but I just know the score, and they won and put up 38 points and shocked. And they were 15.5-point underdogs going into that game to a South Alabama team who had played Tulane down to the wire and had just lost by 2 touchdowns to Auburn.
Yeah. I had said it in the pregame show against Coastal. I just didn't want to, it seemed like they were missing a quarterback for sure. They were turning the ball over way too much. And it didn't seem like they were that bad, but, against the Pirates, that quarterback play continued on, and the Pirates couldn't get anything going, offensively, especially in the rushing attack early in that game. And, as the game wore on, I Coastal kind of opened up, and those guys just laid over late in that second half, completely laid over.
They were tired. I think they were worn out.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, that's interesting. What's interesting is what is it? Tarleton State that beat Army in week 1. That's college football is weird, man. Sometimes.
Well, Tarleton State was a Division II power, and then they moved up to FCS, made the FCS playoffs last year, and they are already talking about trying to join Conference USA. So they got a lot of money for an FCS program.
Yeah, and aren't they 5-0? I mean, they're undefeated.
Yes,
well.
Yep. So,
yep,
they're part of the Texas A&M. That they're in that group, and
Texas A&M allow them to move to FBS. How does that work?
Well, I watched a video on their facilities. It's as good as some of the upper level FBS teams. Not I don't want to use the term P4, Kyle, but the group of 6. It's as good as some of them.
Send or Dave, if you will, send Matt a link really fast.
All right, I did. Yeah, I sent it in the email, but I'll do that again.
All right, I'll let him know.
Kyle, how many hot dogs did you eat?
Only 2. I grabbed 2 when I was coming in and a Gatorade and didn't go back. I was there to watch football and I eat free food.
Well,
I'm not going back and forth to the concession stand all night. When I'm in a game, I'm locked in. Well,
what's interesting is Jim and I, we had, after we did the pregame, Jim Zoki and I, we ran down to the concourse to try to just to get a taste of the experience of some of that, get a couple hot dogs. And the line was, at least in the main concourse, the line was it was actually out the gate. And
were people trying to get stuff before they leave? Really?
No, they were we did it.
Oh, you mean before the game started? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Before the game, we were trying to do it. We couldn't get it. And then, I was getting texts from buddies that were inside the stadium that they said it was just awesome, an awesome environment.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They were saying they could run. They weren't standing in any lines. They could run, go get a couple of hot dogs and come back, to their seat. It was pretty sweet that was,
the way they had it set up, you just grabbed it. So my wife and I got in the stadium at 6. I'm an early arriver. We got there at 6. I grabbed 2 hot dogs, a Gatorade, and she grabbed a Diet Pepsi and some popcorn, and it was sitting out. The way they had it sitting up, I don't know if you saw it, Andrew.
Yeah,
they had the hot dogs, the nachos, the popcorn, the drink sitting out, and you just grab what you. And they said you're limited to 4 items per trip per person, and maybe they enforce that, but I can tell you, if I wanted to, I think I could have grabbed 12 hot dogs. Nobody was paying any attention. But I wasn't there for that. I saw a lady beside me. She was a Coastal fan, and she was getting them for several other people. I'm not calling this lady out on her own, but I bet you she had, in the course of that game, between her and her family and friends, I don't know if she was the only one or if she was just a designated go-getter. Maybe she didn't care about watching the game, but I bet you she probably had gotten 30 hot dogs going back and forth.
Yeah, I was impressed. I spoke to both Jim and I were talking to their marketing people before the game, and I was asking if they were going to carry a lot of that over to next season, and they're still undecided. They need to see what their hope is, that people are in and out of concessions quickly, and they're saving the money that way, and they're spending it elsewhere inside the stadium. And they think that so far the numbers are running out that it's a positive thing.
Were you able to talk with anybody about how they are making money off that? I was wondering if they were selling data, like when you download their app, because you have to download their app to be able to get the free food.
Yeah, so they consulted with Savannah Bananas this off season, and so that whole interaction with their app obviously opens the doors to a lot of things. But their hope is that people are spending less on food, or families are coming in spending less on food. That people are spending more on beer, merchandise, the other things. I don't know if you noticed, but they had a large presence of merchandise. They had a large presence of beer, and
I did. Yeah, I did. It was a good environment. I think we took, I don't know if the fireworks and drone show and all that stuff was already something we had planned, but they did a drone show the week before we played there, and then they had the fireworks, and we come back home, we do fireworks and drone show. I don't know if this is something we
it was
planned.
Impactful. For the
administration.
For the administration, I think it was very impactful for everyone involved at ECU to see that environment and to see what could be. And what was great talking to their people is they are kind of kindred spirits with ECU. We don't have a as far as a big conference, to a pot of pool of money to gather. So you've got to get creative in ways to get people in the seats and spend money and have fun and create a great environment. And so the teal turf that's all marketing. You know what I mean? It's all marketing to create something different and to draw interest. And I love that they reached out to Savannah Bananas to try to figure out other ways to get creative, to make it a great environment. I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, we welcome in the one and only former linebacker from East Carolina, the legendary Matt Semenza. Matt, what's up, man?
I appreciate that intro, brother. I really do. I really do. Thank you for that. Somebody said Bays was on tonight, and I said I need to jump on. So
what's up? What's up, Roomy?
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing? Hope everybody's well. Fired up for tomorrow.
Hey,
another great opportunity in Dowdy.
Bays, do you have your Learjet where you could go pick Matt up, where he can come to the game and then we'll fly him back? I mean, he's had so much travel recently, or I'm sure he'd be down here for this game.
Oh, no doubt. Matt, you've been traveling a lot with
work and baseball, man. Baseball camps and all that stuff. So yeah, I've been busy, man. I went down to South Carolina Gamecocks game a few weeks ago to see my daughter, but yeah, I'll be definitely getting down to Greenville one of these weekends coming up.
Well, we got Charlotte coming up. Is that November 8th off the top? I believe that's right. So your favorite school, Matt, you could come down November 8th. And
that is homecoming, and that is going to be a big game no matter what the records are.
Yeah.
I might do it, I might do it. My new least favorite school is Temple, fellas, and I think I told you why. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Matt, we've been talking about this Army game since the BYU game was over Saturday. I know how you feel about playing the academies in terms of a football standpoint. Nothing against them as men and what they do for our country. You haven't feeling pretty good about this one. How are you feeling today? Are you still feeling kind of wishy-washy?
Yeah, I haven't had a great feeling about this one all week. And, like when you just kind of take a step back and look at this game, I can't stress enough how big of a game this is for East Carolina, because, if you're to go out and lose this game at home, you kind of have now lost all of your momentum from the end of last season, where you won 6 out of 7 games and a bowl game, and now all of a sudden you're 2-3 with another home loss, and this one in the conference. So this is a huge game for ECU, and they have got to find a way to win it. My concern with this game, and one of the reasons I haven't felt good, and Bays, I'm sure you may have touched on this earlier, but until you can learn how to play football as a team without being penalized this heavily and making the type of mistakes we have, and with the offense has looked very sloppy to me throughout the course of this season, I just don't have a great feeling about it.
Yeah, Matt, I haven't. I was trying to find the stat, but the Pirates they're one of the worst in the country as far as penalties. That's one thing that going into the BYU game, I'm not sure where
I
they
have it.
stand after the BYU game, but they're you know for as well as that team responds to Blake, I feel Coach Harrell and his staff, the penalties are very surprising to me. Also, and that's something that just eats at you as games wear on. It just kills a drive. It can kill a drive. If you got some juice going on a drive, it can kill a drive. It can put you in a third and short situation, and now you're looking at a third and long situation, and you're just not going to convert it. It's definitely been a thorn in their side early in the season. I hope to show progress, but it doesn't seem coming out of the BYU game that they've made any headway on that.
Jared,
Hey.
what you said you had the stat. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have that stat. There's 134 FBS teams. The Pirates are 130th with 9.25 penalties a game for 70.5 yards per game. Conversely, Army is second with only 8 penalties and 20 yards per game. So
I think it's 136 actually now with Delaware and Missouri State.
No, I'm counting them. 134.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Army only had one
Ouch.
penalty last week against North Texas.
Yeah, the thing about, first of all, that's a great, powerful stat right there. Not great. Great is the wrong word, but it's a powerful stat you just shared. And the thing is about these penalties for ECU guys is these are just, these are self-inflicted. I mean, when you're talking about false starts, false starts should not happen. And when they do,
All right, wait a minute, Matt. I got to interrupt you. It's 136. I got JR on a stat.
130.
No, I'm on NCAA.com. What is your source that would preempt them?
Well, they're probably not counting. Are you seeing Missouri State and Delaware up there because they're still in transition?
Yeah, that's the reason, because they're not officially
they're members of the
right
conference
in the poll. So their stats aren't counting as FBS stats.
Okay,
But they should. I hate that rule. I hate that. James Madison got saddled with that, and it sucked.
It's idiotic.
I hate it.
When you're playing a full FBS schedule and you're in a conference, that's completely idiotic.
So
that's antiquated. That is antiquated. But go ahead, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, looking forward, I'm sure you guys talked about it on the Army side of things, and maybe your guest from Army probably talked on it too. But this, to Matt's point about the importance of this football game and how, it's just as important to Army, coming in 1-2, they're looking at their schedule, trying to figure out ways, they've got 2 winnable games following their trip to Greenville, UAB and Charlotte, and then they toughen up again in their schedule. They're they want to be able to get to 6 wins also, and maybe a little bit more than that. And this game in Greenville to them is probably, uber important, especially coming off the heels of giving up 45 points to North Texas.
One thing I'll say about Army, and Matt, you came on here to talk, so I'll shut up and let you talk. But one thing I'll say about Army,
No worries, man.
Win or lose this game, they're a really good football team, and I firmly believe even if they lose this, start off 1-3, with as you said, UAB next and Charlotte. Army's going to get better as the season goes on. That's just a fact. I'd be shocked if they didn't. And win or lose this game, Army, I'm speaking of, I would be shocked if they don't still get bowl eligible, even if they lose to the Pirates.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kyle. I mean, you look at the academies in general, guys. You always want to play an academy early in the season. You see it with Navy, you see it with Army. It takes them a while to get into the rhythm of that type of offense. And I heard a lot of people this week. I was just kind of talking to oh, Army stinks. They lost to Tarleton State. I'm like, listen, guys, you have to understand. What you do in week 1 as a college football team is not always indicative of the type of team you are. Teams get better. You don't get scrimmages in college football. So week 1 is a crapshoot. So I literally take nothing from that week 1 loss to Tarleton State. They're going to be a good football team. They are a solid football team, and it's going to be a big test.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I watched some of the North Texas game this past weekend, and I mean, I saw them live last week, or I'm sorry, last season, up at West Point. This team is definitely, at least at this point in the season, this team is not nearly the team that I saw last year. As far as what they have, it is a completely different squad. They're scrambling between two quarterbacks to kind of settle in on what they got. Obviously last year they were settled in with Bryson Daly. That was no brainer. He was having a Heisman caliber season. And so, they're trying to find a balance even at the quarterback position. Now, with that being said, they still rush for, 300 yards a game. They're still going to do it regardless of who's under center. I think that I mentioned earlier in the segment, what it all comes back to is, they're struggling with turnovers. If and when they put the ball on the turf, you've got to convert it, you've got to cover it, and you've got to make them pay with points. Because if you don't, you go 3 and out, you have an opportunity to swing the game with a plus play, and you don't convert on points. Those are the ones that are going to catch up to you, because then they're going to turn around and have the ball for 14 plays, and milk the clock for most of the quarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and another thing
Absolutely.
you talk about Army not being the same team they were last year, and that's entirely true. And they're playing two quarterbacks, but they're 1-2, would have won over Kansas State, but they are just a nose hair away from being 3-0. They lost to Tarleton State, who is an FCS national championship contender, in overtime, and then they lost to North Texas in overtime. So they're just a hair away from being 3-0, and we probably would be looking at this game completely different. They would probably be the favorites.
Well, if they weren't turning the ball over, they'd probably be undefeated.
Yeah, 3-0. Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yep.
This is going to be a tough football game. I really wish this was on a Saturday. Not it takes away a little bit of advantage of Army having to travel in a short week, but this place I think would, even after coming off the BYU game and the crowd we had and the loss, I still think with Army coming to town just on Saturday about a 4:00 kickoff with Fort Bragg right down the road, we'd probably have 40,000 in here.
I hope so, man. I really do. It's
No, I'm saying if it was on a Saturday, Matt. I
oh,
think.
if it was, oh, my bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it'll probably be more like 30,000 tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. But guys, like two general rules I go by as a guy who played defense and played against Army in West Point. Like, two things I really look for as a key are, number one, you got to hit the quarterback, and you got to be really physical. When you get a chance to hit the quarterback, you got to hit him hard and make him pay, because that can lead to turnovers. Like when that quarterback goes to pitch the ball, if you hit him a few times really hard, make him start thinking about it, that leads to turnovers against an option attack. And then the other thing, the really big thing, and I talked a little bit about this last week with BYU, but first down defense is so critical, because they're, more often than not, Army is in 4-down territory. If they get 4th and 3 at the 50, they're going to go for it. So if you can limit them on first down, all right, and get them in situations where it's 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, that's the way you get them off the field. But if they start ripping off 5-6 yards on first down, it's going to be a long day, because they're in 4-down territory.
Matt, I'm curious what your opinion in the first segment. I've mentioned that. I think Kyle had mentioned that the Pirates struggle, with red zone offense. We talked through that, and I said on the flip side, for the last 2 seasons, one thing I've keyed in on is their red zone defense is actually pretty good as far as the Pirates. And as the field shrinks behind them, I feel like they get stronger, on being able to, in those 4-down territory areas, they're getting teams off the field on turnover on downs, and they're holding to field goals, and they're bending, and they're not breaking, with short field behind them. What are some of the reasons? I have my beliefs, but what are some of the reasons you think, from a defensive perspective, that the Pirates, have been good, relatively speaking, top 20 in the country, in red zone defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, man. I mean, I think we're pretty good against the run. I think that's the first thing. Like we have some D linemen that can get penetration against the run. Zion Wilson is a guy who I really like, number 54 for the Pirates. He's got a little, like, for a big guy, 320 pounds, he's got a little bit of quick twitch. Maybe I'm over exaggerating things a little bit, but he can move a little bit. So we're pretty good against the run. And then to your point, the field condenses. I think we show a lot of different looks. We mix up our blitz package pretty well, and we've been getting people off the field. And, I think we'll have to do that this weekend.
What's the competitive advantage on the defensive side of the ball? You know what I mean? From your linebacker perspective, if you've got a coach like Coach Aldridge that's dialing up some blitzes and, obviously shifted JD Lampley to the inside, you get a little bit more, pass rush ability or some ability to move. I feel like they've always got movement on the defensive line. They do a good job with that. But what's the competitive advantage defensively, generally speaking, as the field is condensed and shortens?
Well, I think that, essentially it just makes things it's hard to run a deep ball, right? When the field gets shortened, everything gets condensed. And, if you have safeties that can cover ground, and if you're well coached defensively and just keep the ball in front of you, that's the big thing. You keep everything in front of you, you have a chance to get off the field there. So I think we coach it well here. We've looked pretty good in that spot. But I think probably the biggest thing is we do show a lot of different looks. I mean, every play looks a little bit different, exotic blitzes. So I think that definitely helps us. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, man. I was just looking for some defensive insight.
Absolutely.
I might have an indicator that could foreshadow maybe what's going to happen. So Army this season, they're averaging 4.4 yards per carry, but they're surrendering 4.9 yards per carry. I went back 12 seasons, and they're plus yardage every single season, except for in 23. They were 4.4 and 4.9. And that's, they were 6-6 that season and lost to Louisiana Monroe. They lost to UMass and got shut out by Troy. So, I mean, I think it's really critical for Army to, the 4.4 yards per carry on offense, their quarterbacks are only 3.8, and Bryson Daly was 5.5. So I just think there's something there that makes me optimistic about the quarterback position and what they don't have that gives me hope.
You're right about that. And you look at the football team for us, I just don't believe that you're going to see two bad performances in a row from Caden Hauser and Anthony Smith with the drops and the Pearson with the muff punt. I mean, there was things that just don't happen, and you just can't have those mistakes. I'm curious to see how many. It was dreadful with those false starts, and Johnny had I know Johnny Monica asked you about when did those false starts happen, and you're getting behind the chains early with those first downs, or it could be a 3rd and short, and all of a sudden you get a 5-yard penalty with that false start. 5 yards may not seem like a lot, but it is when you're playing a great team like BYU, and I think Hauser, after seeing that film, like that 2nd down play at the Boneyard when he's running, he should have just ran the ball and got a few extra yards. You have the 3rd down, and then if you don't get it on 3rd down, you kick the field goal, and you have a tie ball game 6-6. We get the stop, you get the muff punt from Pearson, and then the ball goes backwards to the 2. Instead of doing a couple run plays, get the heck out of like Mike Houston era into the first half. That's when you want to have Mike Houston there for that particular point, meaning those 2 plays to get out of there. And to be fair to the coaches, that wasn't coaching. That was Hauser again trying to make plays that were not there. So I hope my concern will be, will he play disciplined football, meaning let the game come to you. When you try to force things, just like life, you try to force things that are not there, it's not going to end up good. And anytime you're that deep in your end zone. I don't know if you guys remember the Virginia Tech game. I think it was Rob Cass that threw that pick six early it was the first or second quarter. And I'll never forget, I was with a buddy of mine. I was like, oh, man, because nothing ever good happens if you're trying to throw at what is that, like the minus that was like at the 2-yard line.
Yeah, no, there are times where you can hit a deep ball over the middle or something like that, deep backed up like that, but that wasn't the team to be doing it against. And Hauser on that play, it was an RPO with the run being the primary option on that play, and Hauser decided to throw it. And Matt made the point, why call an RPO there? Why not just call a straight run? And so we even take it out of his hand to make that decision. And so it's what it is. But to Dave's point, Hauser just needs to let the game come to him. There will be opportunities in this game to score points. Hauser doesn't need to force anything.
Right. And that's our way of.
Oh, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, I was just going to make the quick point. You know how Army has to play discipline ball? Our discipline ball has to be that where obviously take care of the football, but the penalties have got to. That's just like all those false starts, man. And when you look at this team, we definitely have more talent. And having you can't have those drop passes. Smith, Yannick Smith. By the way, Matt, I want to get your take on this, and Andrew. When you got a guy like basketball, or if it's a guy playing baseball, and the guy's getting like hit after hit and home runs, you get this particular case. You got to get the ball to Yannick Smith. Everything he was doing was right on Saturday night. And
Dave, this is exactly where I was going, and you just kind of took the words out of my mouth a little bit.
Wow.
And I was just going to say, like, to your point about Yannick, guys, like when you're and Bays, I'll be curious to hear and all your guys' thoughts about this. When you're like, my thing is like when you're struggling in the red zone, try to simplify things and get the ball to your best players. And I really believe we saw it twice against Coastal, where Yannick was one-on-one and we just went to him, in the red zone, 2 easy touchdowns. But like, look, if you guys have seen Yannick Smith's basketball highlights from high school, him dunking the ball, he's got to have like a 40-inch vertical. It's ridiculous.
I know you've talked about it, but I haven't seen it.
When in doubt, man, get him on a shorter corner and throw the jump ball, similar like you would do with like you guys, all the Pirate fans remember Larry Shannon back in the day, 6'5" guy who could jump. Bays, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm a huge fan of our skill position guys. Both Anthony Smith and Yannick Smith, going back to this summer, last spring, the athleticism, to your point, stands out. Like they see it in practice. They're making freakish catches and doing the things that you think a talent like him, that athleticism, they see it. I crave for, fades in the corner of the end zone on on the 6-yard line. Especially when you get man coverage, I'm dying for a fade route to the corner, especially with Anthony Smith and Yannick Smith. But this offense is built a certain way, and they, Coach Baker wants to run it a certain way, and that is this offense. And I have yet to really see those fade routes that we think would be obvious on certain matchups. But no, I love our athleticism, and we have two talented tight ends as well in Riles and Connor. Both those guys are freakish in their abilities. They have talent in seam routes. I've seen, Connor make catches in seam routes in close windows where, his hands are exceptional. And his run after catch ability is exceptional. So there's a ton of talent in the skill positions. And you would think that we've got a plethora of red zone targets to be able to choose from. But yeah, this offense goes a certain way, and it's not sometimes the way that we want to see it. You know what I mean? As far as just the obvious, let's throw a fade route here. That it just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, we're going to have to start doing more of that, particularly in the red zone. You got to take advantage of scoring opportunities. You're right. We got great talent at receiver. We got great talent at tight end. Utilize them. And sometimes I think this coaching staff has the I think Blake did it. I look back at the NC State game when we slowed things down to try to have the last possession instead of just continuing with tempo, getting into the end zone. And if we give them the ball back when a minute and 30 left, play defense. And sometimes I think the offense too. I think they overthink things sometimes. JDB has his offense. He wants to do things a certain way with this offense, and that's great. But you know what? Just win, just score. There's a lot of air raid elements to this offense, so those fades and things should be in the package.
What's crazy is all the threats that I mentioned, the 4 big threats that I talked about, but we still have Petaway that has not really, he really just has not broken out the way that I think this coaching staff was hoping. They're taking their time with him, as far as learning the system and getting going in the system. He just didn't take off as quick as I think they thought he might. But that opened the door to Brock Spalding. Brock Spalding ran through that door with his opportunity at NC State. And so, to my point, you have those big targets, but you also have Mike Wright, who could come in the game in a red zone type package, and you also have Brock Spalding and Petaway. There, this receiving room and tight ends, it's exceptional. It really is.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you guys about is Mike Wright and not taking away from Hauser. So let me be very clear. I'm not anti-Hauser, down on Hauser. But somebody brought up the point about it's not the same scenario, but bringing in James Summers, what he did to Virginia Tech. And I know that was not the same game.
Yeah, it was. I brought it up. It was talking about if we played in the rain.
Right,
yeah, and there may be some rain tomorrow night. And if it was a heavy rain, I think you could rely heavily on Mike Wright. But there's definitely, particularly down in the red zone, like we talked about, some situations where you could line Mike Wright up at quarterback and utilize him in a so-called wildcat type package down in the red zone. And what I even like about that better is Mike is a true quarterback. So you put him down there in the red zone and they're expecting wildcat, throw a little jump pass with him, and touchdown. But Mike Wright is a weapon, and as a whole, I don't think we've done a great job utilizing our weapons this year on offense. I just don't think we have, and that's something we, as we're kind of alluding to in the red zone, you gotta use your weapons the best way you can. You got to get your balls in playmakers' hands, and you got to set them up in positions to win. And whether it's Yannick Smith on fade routes, or Mike Wright in the wildcat, or throw to the tight ends over the middle, or whatever, we got to get the ball in playmakers' hands.
Yeah, and I think one of the things with Mike Wright too, guys, like I think you make a really good point there, Kyle, is you have to put the pass on film. You have to show him throwing the ball a little bit in the red zone if you're going to use him. Because as soon as defenses see him come in, they're going to load up and they're going to say, we know ECU is going to run the ball here. So I think you make a really good point. You got to just, even if it's something simple, like you show read option, he pulls it up, he's got one read to make. If the man's open, he throws it. If not, just throw it out of bounds. You know what I mean? Like, Put it on film to give them something to think about. And we should use him, I think, in those situations. Read option, speed option. He's perfect for that.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you've got an established quarterback like Caton is. I mean, Caton's your QB1, true QB1. He's your ride or die. I think it's hard. You don't have a lot of time, and I know you've got a certain amount of time in the summer, you got a certain amount of time in the spring, and then as the season gets going, it's like you have no time. And trying to work in packages and all that kind of stuff, I know armchair quarterbacking, it seems like a no-brainer, but I think for these coaches, it's not a no-brainer. It's really hard to, once you get this season going, you are who you are. And I'm sure there's packages with Mike Wright that are ready to go. It's just where in the game do you fit it in? And, that's probably the biggest challenge for a coaching staff is, you have that talent, and you've got the packages for him, but at what point in the game, a game or games plural, like when is that opportunity and what are those plays? And that's, I think we'll we'll uncover that, probably this week and future weeks here as the season goes on. But it's a good problem to have, having additional assets. I mean, we've had years here where we feel like we don't have any assets, and so it is. I think it is a good problem that the Pirates have this season.
Yeah, we could have used Mike right back in 23. Guys, you ready to wrap this up? Give the
Yeah. Hey, Kyle, hold on, Kyle. I worked very hard on the stat you requested for explosive plays. I already mentioned earlier that we had 12 of 20 or plus yards, 11 passes, and 1 run. But I expanded it to 15 plus just to get more data points. And I found something very interesting. 28 plays through the first 4 games of 15 yards or longer, 23 passes, 5 rushes. But the 5 rushes were by 5 different players. So, I mean, yeah, I thought it was. Montgomery had one, Jenkins, Engelman, Lacey, and Mike Wright. But to go beyond that a little bit, there's only 4 players that have had 3 plays of 15 yards or longer. And, I mean, everybody can guess the first 2, Anthony and Yannick Smith. Javante Connor was also there.
How many yards or longer?
15.
3 players have only had 15 yards in the receiving room?
No, for only 4 players have had 3 plays of 15 yards or longer. Believe it or not, only 4 players have had 3 plays of 15 yards or longer. The 2 Smiths, Javante Connor, and the 4th player really, really captured me by surprise. And it's the guy from South Carolina, Peyton Mangrum. I mean, when he gets his opportunities, he's making the most of it. And, you talked about Petaway earlier, Andrew, and I think that's part of the problem. Mangrum played 15 snaps against BYU, 13 in the slot, and he made a play. Every time someone threw the ball to him, he made a play. So I found that interesting. So there's our playmakers.
And you think Petaway maybe should sit on the bench for a little while?
No, I mean, I was the one. I don't know who was more excited about Petaway, me or Matt. I think we were like in a dead heat for who. Yeah, and so I don't want to give up on him. No, I want everyone to succeed. But Mangrum came out of nowhere, and I didn't see it coming. And he's getting more snaps, and he's making the most of it. He's coming up big.
Yeah, Mangrum has been outstanding. There's no question. You play behind all that talent. You know what I mean? It has to be an ultra competitive room. And for a guy like Petaway, I mean, I was singing his praises in the spring. I thought he looked absolutely outstanding. And for whatever reason, it's just not clicking for him here early in the season. And that's that's nothing against anybody. It's just, sometimes, translating what you're doing on the practice field into the games. I mean, hell, I had a very hard time with that in the NFL. Being able to translate over to the speed of the game. And, that's a normal, natural thing in football. Sometimes it doesn't translate, or maybe sometimes it just takes some time to get going. So, he's certainly a work in progress, but dang, he really showed in the spring.
No doubt. And guys, while we have a minute, really quick, just want to get a quick roundtable in. We talked about this, but obviously it hit me this week at the first day of practice for men's basketball was Monday. And women's basketball, by the way, started back on the 15th of September. But it really is going to be hard this year, guys, without Cy Seymour. He retired, and we know age, and he wants to spend more time, I'm sure, down at the beach. But we'll have to get him on, and maybe we can have a few people on to do a little tribute to him, as he's been here for a long, long time. Also, guys, really quick, I'm going to make some quick points so we can get through and give our predictions. So if you want to go ahead and give your predictions, do so. Kim McNeil has a new podcast, guys. It's called Kim's Court, and they just launched that recently, and they just dropped episode 3, I think, yesterday or the day before. We'll have to get her on. A couple quick notes. JR is going to be with me. I don't know, Andrew, if you can come, but we're having men's basketball media day that morning on the 21st, that Tuesday. That night's a little busy because they have women's basketball banquet at 6. They're going to do the same thing the following Tuesday for men's basketball. in Harvey Hall. That'll be on the 28th. So get your tickets for that. We talked about Sub Dogs. That's really cool. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Sports Center. I was joking that maybe they should have people could, if I were a student, I would be camping out for sure as we bring Johnny back in.
Yeah, and they're encouraging all students to go out there tomorrow to be there, try to get on camera. So, and if you're not a student, you're in Greenville, hit the Sub Dogs. Try to get on camera there for ESPN.
Yeah, and I wanted to give a shout out again. By the way, I was walking by, I was trying to take pictures, and I was the premium tailgate area. They've done a great job. By the way, guys, they have a beer garden that's for anyone. And they have a stage and they have a band each home game. In fact, they had the main event band out of Greenville on Saturday night, and this Thursday night, tomorrow night, they're going to have the Embers. It's the Old Skills Fieldhouse location. I have to say that's one area that they've. I'm positive. I was really shocked to see how much I do like it, and they did a good job with that. Quickly, I want to get your points really fast on. Move the SEC, has already moved to the 9-game conference schedule. That's the 3 non-conference games. 1 game must be a Power 4 opponent. And now the ACC has done that as of, I believe it was yesterday. They made the announcement. And I wanted to get y'all's take because now another reason that NC State and North Carolina can say, hey, we don't have to play that game with East Carolina or App State.
Did the ACC do the Power 4 thing or not?
Yes. That's
going to all right. So that's going to leave one
FCS.
G5 opponent,
right?
Because you're going to have one so-called Power 4 opponent non-conference. Then you're going to have one Group of 5 and then one FCS. So it's going to make it harder and harder to get game. And look, if they want to, if all these Power 4 conferences want to keep doing this bullshit, go ahead and take your ball. Go ahead and take your ball and go home. Go ahead and form your own division with however many teams you're going to let play at the highest level, and then let the rest of us play college football. I'm getting so sick of crap like this.
Yeah, but I want to get y'all's take really quick before.
Hey, you just got mine.
Okay, I know. But Matt, Johnny, what do you think? Matt,
I'll go with Kyle there. I can't debate anything he said.
Matt, what do you think? And Andrew,
agreed. I mean, I think that I don't know what you can do from a legislation standpoint, but I would like to see the local politicians in North Carolina demand that you play some more of these games, and look, you don't have to play NC State every year. You can rotate. You get Wake Forest one year, you get the Tar Heels one year, and you rotate. But it would just be a shame for you're getting rid of the rivalries in college football, and you say what you want about these in-state matchups, but they're great for the local economy.
Yes.
And you would want that if you're somebody who's a North Carolina resident. That's what you want.
Baze, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could go down a whole rabbit hole.
Baze, let me hear you say I'm getting sick of this bullshit.
Yeah, man. For ever since all of this has been going on, I've been a big proponent for the separation of the haves and have-nots. I'm an advocate of whatever the top 50 schools are, let them separate and let them.
Yes, Andrew, I'm with you 100%. 50 is the number, and then Virginia Tech and us can be in the same conference.
Yeah, let those 50 premier schools go get the money, chase the money, do the deal, and they can build their own premier college football league and do their thing. And the rest of what's left is college football, and it as we know it, as we know it as fans. And I think that's the only way that you can separate the haves and have-nots and be able to, elevate the schools that want to be elevated and spend the money that they want to spend on their rosters and the whole thing. And the rest that can't spend, which is the most of college football, is separated out and, create some sort of, spending limit, whatever it is, to try to keep together college football as we know it. And I think the fans would clamor for the lower, theoretically the lower division of football, because it will look more like college football as they know it. the elevated league will look more like NFL because
Exactly.
it'll be all the premier talent. But I think it'd probably be good for the game to have both levels. And so in any event, I'm with Matt also. You know, as having the opportunity to travel with the Pirates on the road as I have, you know, this now my 4th season. I think a lot of what ECU's going to be in the future is more regional games, and I think it's better for the fans. I think it's better for the student athlete. I think it's better for the game. You know, as I've looked at these conferences that the Pirates have been playing in, Conference USA and the AAC, you know, the talent pool is basically on every team is basically the same, minus, you know, what the players that the schools have spent money on with their NIL, bigger money players. But the talent pool is pretty much the same. And I enjoy, as a fan, I enjoy the regional games. You know, obviously having BYU and have them come to ECU and ECU go to BYU, those are awesome to mix in. I mean, especially if you can be competitive in those games, it's outstanding. You know, but, you know, unfortunately the landscape is what it is. And like I said, I could go down a whole wormhole with this thing, but you know, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, let's move on because I know we're way over time. But let's do the predictions. Andrew, I don't know if you are, but the rest of the guys.
Andrew's not calling the game. He can do a pick.
You want to do a pick, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll go.
Guest picker. We have a celebrity guest picker, ECU Hall of Famer, and one of the best punters of all time in ECU football history, Andrew Bays.
Yeah, let's. So I'm going Pirates. Let's say. I'm gonna say they're gonna drop a big score. Let's say 28-24. Pirates over Army.
All right, that's the spread. You're covering the spread there. JR, what you got?
I had 38-24.
Wow. I love it. I hope you're right. All right, I'm going to say Matt Semenza for last before mine. Kyle Barber, what you got?
27-21 Pirates.
Oh, my God. Go ahead, Matt. Matt, go ahead.
You know, guys, I hope I'm wrong, you know, but considering the penalties, considering the inconsistencies of this offense and sort of the sloppy play so far this year, I'm going to say Army 34-27.
Wow. And you can send all your hate mail. No, I'm kidding. Emails to Matt.
Hey, I got to keep it real, man. I got to keep it real.
I appreciate. Hey, that's what makes this show great is that we're not all like bowing down to like, you know, just the Pirates. I honestly, God, Kyle, my score was 27-21, but I am going to say 28-21. I'm going to play like Price is Right. Johnny, have you been keeping 28-21 Pirates?
Yeah, I have.
How are we doing?
Okay, so you won week 1. I won week 3, and week 2 I think was possibly Robert Dedrick or Kenneth Maynor. I'm not sure. I don't have my notes with me. They're in Virginia, but yeah, I am keeping track, and I will continue to keep track. So
I'm curious for Matt, before we get out of here, you made your point about the offense, and I get that. Why do you think we give up 34 points?
It's a lot of things. We have not performed well against the academies recently. We all know the Navy horror stories. Army, obviously. And we were talking about this the other day, Kyle, you and I, how our record is really good against Army. But I thought last year they took us behind the woodshed.
They did that to everybody.
Yeah. And
including Oklahoma.
Here's my thing. Look, show me we can beat.
No, that was Navy. Never mind.
Show me we can show me we can play a penalty-free game. Show me we can score in the red zone consistently, and show me we can beat an academy here, and I'll gladly eat my words.
All right.
Was that 2004?
How about that? I can't remember the last time I picked against East Carolina on this show, by the way. I can't even remember. But look, This is the show me state, Bays. Show
Yeah.
me.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous take, Matt. That's ridiculous.
I know. I just pissed everybody
No,
off.
hey, Bubba, not on my end. I'm not doing any weed eating tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and tailgate lots, I believe, open at 4:00. So enjoy your time there. And by the way, Kyle, do you want to come eat with me tomorrow night? You and Jessica. I have a pregame meal with Sam's Jones Barbecue. So
I'll let you know. Depends on what time we get there. What time? Well, we'll talk about it here.
yeah, I was just throwing that out because he always talks about no. I won't. Well, I'm like, you can still eat and still be out, and you can still be out there in the stadium. So just wanted to ask you guys ahead of time. But anyway,
hey Dave, are you bringing Alex with you?
I'm trying to figure that out. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
are you going to tailgate?
That's going to be tough.
Okay. Yeah. No, I asked because every game I bring a football with me, and I can never find anyone to throw the ball. And I know Alex will, so that's why I
definitely would. Yes.
So if he's there, let me know. I'll come over and we'll toss it around a bit.
Yeah, he's got football practice till 5:30 ish in Robertsonville, so it's not too far. So I've got to figure that. We'll figure all that out. I'm not worried about that right now.
So to answer your question, wait a minute. You're not taking him to football practice, though, right?
No, he goes.
Okay, all right. So I'm about to answer your question. No, I will not be at the I will be in the stadium by probably 6. So.
No, I mean, well, my mom will be there picking him up. I'm just trying to figure all that out.
All right, we need to talk about all this off the air. All
yeah,
right,
I'm trying to. All right, guys. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much, man. You're so awesome to be with us, and you stay a long time with us. And I appreciate all you do at the hospital, our day job, and he's a really good dude. So thank you. Well deserved to be in the Hall of Fame and where he belongs. Thank you so much, man.
Bays is the man, buddy. Good to see you.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Good luck to the Pirates, and don't forget, we'll be
Bays
back.
did stiff arm a West Virginia defender once on a botched snap punt.
Oh wow,
that's kind of like the fish story. It just gets better and better with time.
I love it.
According to look in 2025 here, it's basically at this point, you not only did you stiff arm him, but you drove him into the ground and scored a touchdown. So
that's what I heard.
Yeah, it was about the same time I was still running about a 4.42.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I probably run like a 10:40, so nowhere near 4. But anyway, that was in my prime. All right, guys, thank you so much. The Pirate Football Playback will be Sunday night at 8:00, and hopefully we can talk about good news about the Pirates and make sure that you go out. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you. Hope you have a great night. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.